Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. This is our 50th show, so it's a real milestone, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah, it's definitely a milestone, and I'd like to thank everybody that's volunteered down here to help us put the show on.
Yeah, we'd like to thank Lanny for making his club, The Rage, in downtown Portland, available to us, and Gregory and everyone involved, so thanks a lot. My name is Paul Stanford, and I'm one of the chief petitioners, along with our associate Paul Loney here, on the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act, and that is a petition put out by the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp.
Exactly. Our Political Action Committee says it all, the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp. It's a comprehensive initiative which would regulate marijuana. It would allow sales to adults through state liquor stores. It would allow patients to access medical marijuana at pharmacies at cost with a prescription from a doctor. It would allow our farmers to grow industrial hemp, which is the low THC variety. And it would provide for some education and real drug education programs.
Exactly. It would create thousands of jobs in industrial hemp, and it would also bring in hundreds of millions of dollars in state revenue. You know, we're circulating it as a petition right now, and we need your help. We are at about 24,000 signatures as we're taping in early April. We need 73,000 good, valid signatures by the end of June. We've sent out thousands of these to our viewers. If you have our petition already, we urge you to mail it back to us. If you don't have it yet, let us mail it to you right away. Call us at 503-235-4606.
Yeah, get the petitions back to us today. Even if you only have 1 or 2 or 3 signatures on it, make sure you get your signature and at least your best friend's signature on that, and get them back to us, or call us up and get more signatures. And today, in today's show, we're going to go back up to Vancouver, BC, the marijuana breadbasket of the Pacific Northwest, as it's now known, and continue our interviews up there in Vancouver.
Yes, we're interviewing, it's the second half of our interview with Marc Emery. Marc Emery is a longtime activist who's been practicing civil disobedience. He founded a multi-million-dollar business, Hemp BC, and the Cannabis Cafe. There's also a Hemp BC Legal Assistance Center and a wholesale business and a magazine called Cannabis Canada that's just spectacular, isn't it?
Oh, it's a fabulous magazine. I think it's the most comprehensive magazine on cannabis in the entire world right now.
I think so as well. It's professional.
And it's done very nicely. Very nice layout, very nice graphics. Photographers are all great. The people we met up there were all great.
Mm-hmm. And generally, they have something that I personally really like. They always have some hemp paper in there. Some of it's printed on the fibers, paper made from the fibers of the marijuana plant.
So yeah, they're putting their money where their mouth is, and so I think it's time to get to the interview.
Get into the interview. Last plug, call us at 235-4606 to get this petition. And Marc Emery's interview, he starts out talking about some of his legal problems since he's come out in the media with the Wall Street Journal and CNN. So it starts out with that and goes into politics.
Then I would go to jail indefinitely until it comes up to trial in December.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So they've got ways of breaking you. You know, if they want to break you, they can break you. You know, and they've raided me twice, and they certainly racked up a pile of debts and caused my assets. I mean, that restaurant cost me $250,000 alone. It's probably one of the most famous restaurants in North America, but I sold it for about $50,000 over 5 years because nobody will buy a restaurant that doesn't have a business license. It's under constant police supervision for no particular reason, mind you. And you know, you can't liquidate a commodity like that. But on the other hand, I was given like about 10 days to sell. So it's like classic Jewish pogrom in Russia. You know, you've got 3 days to get out of town. You can sell all your stuff for whatever you can get, which will be like 1/10 of its value. And you have to liquidate, and you're just gone. And if you don't liquidate, they just come back and seize it anyway, like they've already done. They didn't need any special permission to raid me twice, and they don't need. And they clearly told me we don't need it to do it again. So get out. And
So they just
I took
raided-
the hint. No, they came back and said, listen, we're not even going to wait till you go to court to contest the license suspension. We'll just come and take all your stuff. And so, well, see, if you sell the business and a new license application, they have to be given up to a year to 2 years to be tested. Because if they don't break the law, or they don't appear to be advocating breaking the law, like I do, then they can't be denied a business license. You are protected in some ways, but as a guy who's gone on every major media and said I break the law every day, 7 different ways to Sunday, that's it. I've already, cashed in my ability to go to before a judge and say I'm a good citizen, I obey laws. I don't obey laws. It's real clear that I don't obey them. I've got 16 counts against me of various things, and some of them are really outrageous. All of them are outrageous. They're all related to this marijuana issue, and they're all idiotic. I've never sold marijuana, never even been accused of selling marijuana. 7 of them relate to seeds. 2 of them relate to giving somebody a gift of $5 worth of hash. These are all life sentence convictions.
Yeah, that's
potentially.
interesting.
And I've been
You're facing
taken to
it.
jail twice for just giving out brochures on government property legalizing marijuana. They handcuffed me and jailed me twice for that. I'm charged with assaulting a police officer, but what it is, I spit on him. When they raided us last time, they started beating up my employees, and I was there watching it happen right in front of me, and they told me to back up, and I spit in the cop's face, and they stopped beating on them and beat on me and threw me in jail overnight. So, that's how I got that. But that was the intention of spitting on the cop anyway.
Right.
And it was just, and to me, that's a pretty reasonable form of contempt.
Yeah.
Is spit on a cop, and what am I, I
Sitting
want...
there beating
Yeah,
a
your
defenseless
employees.
person on the
Also, what am I
ground.
supposed to do in front of my employees anyway? Was it to stand there and let the cop do it? So anyway, I chose the most suitable line of resistance that was the least resistance. And are there others? There must be others. Oh yes, I've got one charge of promoting paraphernalia. I've got one charge of selling paraphernalia. And, so they've kind of got it all covered. 9 trafficking, 2 paraphernalia, 1 literature, 2, the other, assaulting the cop, the usual,
So including literature, you said they got you for.
Yeah, no, they're not promoting literature, giving out brochures at the community center because I had to get permission, and my understanding was you don't need to give permission to give out brochures on government property related to a national issue. I had a petition to Parliament.
And so they busted you for that.
Yeah, I refused to move, and so they just said, well, we're just going to have to handcuff you and take you away. I said, well, handcuff me and take me away, and that's what they did.
Right, we were at City Hall, or?
No, I was at the West End Community Center, which is where I live.
Oh,
Just
okay.
right beside the library.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, democracy is not necessarily alive and well, and not that it's any good if it is, but, it's a very peculiar place, Canada.
Well, it's interesting right now that to us, down in the States, especially in the Pacific Northwest part of the United States, Vancouver is sort of like a shining beacon.
Well, it is in a relative
Since you
way.
created it. or
Yeah,
helped
that's
with
right, because
creation.
basically it's a police state unless you fight back. And then all of a sudden you might find that they give in and they relent. And so, basically everything we do is illegal. And they didn't bother us. They never bothered us until American government pressure was put on our police. They probably never bothered me. Because I'm a good guy. You check all my interviews. You check the CNN show. They say nice things about me. You check the article that's in Rolling Stone. Cops say nice things about me. They always say nice things about me because there's nothing bad to say about me. I'm a totally upfront, honest guy. I pay all the money that everybody is entitled to. I give tons to all the governments. I was great to my employees. I improved that neighborhood vastly. I've contributed probably to $2 billion in economic growth in British Columbia because marijuana has really gone through the roof. It's become easily the major crop in this province. And why? Because they got a great promoter. They got a great spokesman in me. And we're, when you think of great pot, everybody thinks BC. I'm sure there's a lot of bogus pot trading throughout North America. They're saying it's
true.
It's BC pot,
That's
it's
what we
BC
hear
pot.
in
Just
Portland.
because that's the reputation. You say that about a pot, people are going to be interested in it. And a lot of what's in Portland is from BC, though, and same with Washington, and certainly California, and a bit of Colorado, Idaho, and that sort of thing. But, and it may even be a low figure to say it's $4 billion in production every year out of British Columbia alone. But, I take a lot of credit for that because we have made British Columbia pot famous, and it's all good, so it's easy to promote. But at the same time, there was nobody before I existed, like nothing absolutely existed. There was no infrastructure. There weren't 40, 50 hemp stores you see now, or hemp symposiums being held down the street, at the Pan Pacific Center. There's none of that going on before we came by, and now there's hundreds of hemp stores and a couple magazines and lots of, just lots of activity in Canada. There's tons of activity. And we subsidized everything in the period when I could. We gave easily last year $100,000 in money and free legal help to everybody, So but the police knew that. That's why they attacked us because they wanted to damage us financially because that money was subsidizing the whole war against the drug war.
Right.
So we sold $3.5 million, and I recirculated all of it, but the 80,000 I keep. So that's a lot of money to churn back into, you know, our information campaign, really. And we got a lot of interviews. I mean, we've been in everything. My 3 proudest ones are the worldwide CNN broadcast, which has been aired 3 times now, and
That's the Impact Show?
The Impact Show, yeah, which was fabulous.
That's on our website, too.
Yeah, and the Wall Street Journal front page on December 5th, 1995. I'm really proud of that one. That was great.
Yeah.
They had 5 editors go through every aspect of my life you could do, because they
Really?
weren't going to be, they said they were not going to put a drug dealer with any negative connections on the front page if there was anything that came up, like any single thing, and they couldn't find anybody to say anything bad about me, from a cop to my old teachers to any employees to anybody. Could not find a negative comment. We couldn't went to my neighbors, couldn't find anybody there. And so they put me on the front page. I'm the only thing on the front page. I did my face there, and it's a beautiful article. And the Rolling Stone article, which is really nice because it goes to a different market. They're all different markets, you know, CNN, Wall Street Journal, Rolling Stone, and, you know. So now that I've been sort of kicked out and forced into some degree of retirement, I feel at least we've accomplished a lot in that period. Like, we certainly set the ball for a lot of people to do stuff.
So what are you, what businesses do you still have now?
Well, we have Cannabis Canada, where we're filming right now, and we still do mail order Cannabis Canada, so we still sell bongs and pipes and magazines and books and seeds by mail.
Okay.
And but you know, the retail outlets were the real cash cows. You know, we used to sell $5,000-6,000 worth of seeds a day there, and $4,000 a day in the Hemp BC store, and the cafe never does too much, you know, like $1,000 a day there. But you know, that's they've got to pay for their people, because those places now still have about 22 employees.
Oh, wow.
So you know, their money gets churned back into the suppliers and the employees. It's basically the same thing. We protected as many jobs as we can. We still have about 31 people in the Hemp BC family, whereas we had 43 at the end of January. We had to let go anybody who really couldn't be justified financially anymore, and the legal services aren't free anymore now.
Okay.
So because we lost all our, you know, most of our sources of revenue, so you know, all the freebies had to end. And we sponsored Cannabis Nation Radio Hour, which is the weekly radio show for goes across Canada. We paid for that entirely. Paid for everybody's legal services at the law office. People were never charged for that. That was easily $100,000 a year for that one. You know, we subsidized tons of stuff. Most hemp stores in Canada receive money from us, et cetera, which we can't do anymore now. And the police, you know, that was the intent of this whole
Sure,
thing.
sounds like
is, you know, like they were saying, like, why are you letting this guy, you know, he uses his money very efficiently, is what they're admitting. He's real good. Whack him, you know, get him out. I mean, also when all the world leaders were here, we bought full-page ads in all the daily papers. Those are great ads. Have you ever seen them? There's one in the cafe actually on the table.
Oh,
if you look
okay.
there, take a look at that full-page ad there.
Well,
Yeah, we bought those.
I heard about him, of course.
Can you describe it?
That
to
was
us?
during
Oh, it was a
a
wonderful.
national,
Yeah, well,
our
everybody was here.
international
Yeah, Bill Clinton
event.
was here, and not only that, this issue of the newspaper that we bought an ad in was really a corporate suck-up section. It was all about APEC, so that APEC leaders could read about themselves and everybody at APEC, and then all the ads were like BC Tel, FedEx, you know, full-page corporate advertising, and no one expected us to take advantage of it. We got it in the mail automatically as a routine thing, and we said we'll buy full-page ads in all the daily papers that day. And so we had it when the big headline is, "It's time to end the war on marijuana," and then it's got the Cannabis Culture of Canada welcomes APEC leaders and delegates to the North America's marijuana breadbasket, British Columbia, and a headline. And I'm just thinking there must have been a lot of big Canadian guys who just really had a heart attack when they write, because you know, the guys from Malaysia and Singapore are going, we kill people, like,
Right,
they're
yeah.
buying a full page ad, and they said, come and have a smoke with us 4 blocks away, because it was only 4 blocks away from the sort of the Pan Pacific. So I invited all the leaders to come down and have a talk with me and check it out and discuss why they still think marijuana should be illegal if they're so concerned. And basically we also cited the human rights record of each country. We'd go that, you know, marijuana traders are executed in China, Singapore, Malaysia. In the United States, 640,000 people are put in jail, blah, blah, blah. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, you know, sowed hemp, and Bill Clinton wants to put everybody in jail that does so today. And we made fun of the fact that America still calls itself a pluralistic democracy in the land of the free, while locking up everybody in sight who doesn't agree with the, you know, the president's point of view on marijuana, and basically tried to shame and embarrass them. And pointed that we're decent people, we're your leaders, we're your children, we're your teachers, we're your uncles, we're the kid next door, we're the people who sell you stuff, we're the people who work with you, et cetera, et cetera. And that it was idiotic to advocate any kind of policy that put us in jail, as well as which it was good medicine. We listed off it was good medicine, it was great for fiber, you know, and it's a wonderfully articulate, beautiful thing. On the bottom, it's got Hemp BC Cannabis Cafe and the little grow shop. And then invite everybody to come down and check us out 4 blocks away.
Well, do you get any visitors?
Yeah, we got 9 delegates from
Really?
APEC. Yeah, that's a lot, considering they'd have to have the nerve to come in. And I think 4 of them were Canadian, 1 was American, 1 was Mexican, and 2 were from Asia.
That's good. Hi, I just want to remind everybody that this interview has been brought to you by the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp, our Political Action Committee, which is the sponsors of the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act, the petition over here, and so please help us out, make the vision of Vancouver, BC become the reality down here in Oregon, and by give us a phone call, 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. And Paul, remind us what the initiative does?
It will tax and regulate the sale of marijuana to adults. It'll allow adults to cultivate marijuana for personal use. It'll allow farmers to cultivate the drug for sales through liquor stores. It'll allow medical patients to receive prescriptions through pharmacies at cost. Will tax adult marijuana sales, and it will allow farmers to cultivate industrial hemp to produce thousands of products, everything from the diesel in our trucks to the paper on our books and the fabric on our back.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm excited about with our initiative on the medical aspect of it, that allows the doctor and patients to decide what to use marijuana for, what to use cannabis for. Some of the other initiatives going around the country, there's like a set list of what a doctor can say it's good for. And if you're not on the list, well, you're out of luck. But not ours. It's between a doctor and a patient, the way it should be. In pure freedom, no prohibitions, no regulations on doctors or on patients. So give us a call and help us out. Send back petitions if you've already got them, so we need them now. Time's growing short. Or call us if you haven't got a petition yet, or if you lost yours. That's 235-4606. And help us make it legal here. And maybe we can invite Marc Emery down here once it's legal. And he can, the greatest marijuana smoker in North America, he's called, or the world this day. I guess that's what some of the media's calling him.
Yeah.
The world's greatest marijuana smoker. Well, you know, we can have him down here.
Once we change those laws, because he doesn't want to come down here while there's a lot more freedom up there. There's no sense in him coming down here and facing the wrath of the federal fascist state. So call us and get these petitions at 235-4606. And now I guess we're back to the conclusion of the Marc Emery interview.
Back with the politics part.
And so that was pretty good, yeah, and we got a lot, but what was really important, and this is what really hurt us later on, the ads got re-reported all over the world. New York Times picked it up, a lot of American press picked it up, European television filmed at the Cannabis Cafe, Reuters came in, and we got calls from France and Germany, said they'd seen us there, interviewed, and then we got very syndicated magazines, and so it kept going outward like that. Daily newspapers would comment, because the great thing is the newspaper was delivered during a boring news day as well. Yeah. So there was endless people commenting on this incredibly cool ad, and they would read it aloud and stuff like that. And so, you know, it got everything I wanted to get out of it, but the problem is I knew there would be a consequence. Yeah, there'd be repercussions. I remember when CNN was here and they just wrapped up, and the last question they said, so do you think there'll be any negative repercussions to you being on this show? And I looked at the guy real up close and I said, well, don't you? I mean, of course I do. I said, it's probably the end. I said, but it's a good way to go. You know? So.
Well, you're still doing Cannabis Canada and
oh yeah, and it's stable too. It's not in any danger or anything like that. It was 3 weeks ago when, after we were forced out of our retail business, our printer demanded all the money for the last issue and a half of this month's right up front now. You know, and we found it for him. So at least we're really caught up. We've never been as well caught up in Cannabis Canada as we are right now. So it's stable here. But I'm not involved in really anything else at the moment, other than I give a lot of interviews. And, I'm still, when you want an interview about pot and you want it to be favorable, you're going to call me up, because you just have to quote me. And most journalists are in favor of marijuana legalization, so by calling me, you're going to get what you want, because they've been suitably propagandized now, so they know what to promote, too. So most journalists are getting good at it. They know what they want, so they call me up because they know they're going to get great quotes. And I convince people. I literally convince people. The climate has gone from 39% of Canada wanted legalization only 4 years ago, and now 51% of the country wants legalization. And in British Columbia, it went way off the scale, 63%. So that means you've got 33% that either said they were against marijuana or didn't have an opinion or anything. Well, where you got 63% are willing to say, yes, conclusively, I want marijuana legalized. So you have a much more hardcore pro-marijuana segment of our society than you have anybody who cares about making it illegal. In other words, the people who are against it are ambivalent at best. They don't care, really. It doesn't concern them. You know, maybe their teenage son took smoked marijuana. They didn't like how he turned out, so since then they're against marijuana. That tends to be the commonest kind of reason to be against any kind of drug that I've ever heard, is not because in and of itself prohibition works. It's just that I didn't like my kid doing it, so I don't want him to ever see it again, blah, blah, or whatever, and therefore it should be illegal. These are always irrational, nonsensical people. I mean, when you look at the people in favor of prohibition, they're always total idiots. It's like when people look at white supremacists. Why are you worried about white supremacists? I said, they're all mongoloids. Look at these people. They're not the master race. These are people that couldn't get accepted in the lowest social club. You know, they have shaved heads, you know, a little off to the side, like little, you know, egghead type things, you know, wearing bizarre things out in Montana. That's the best fucking place for those people. Let's isolate them. Let's send them to Montana, Idaho, and hope they never show up to the rest of us, right? That's what you want to do with those people, right? So, I mean, most times people get worked up over nothing, and they ignore all the real problems in life. That's what I've found.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any, what's your vision of the future of the magazine and any other businesses?
Well, we're going to put out more magazines. We have a pot puzzle book coming out that's lots of fun.
Oh.
And Cannabis Canada will issue, like Avalon Sunsplash, the holding company, of which I'm the president, we'll put out more magazines of different subject matters. We have to like diversify. We're still going to handle the mail order here, and that'll expand in this department. And but we'll just go a little slower. I mean, after all the other things are well in place, and other people can look after those. And I've also got to pay $100,000 in debts because I pass on the businesses in a debt-free environment. No money down, debt-free. That way, you know, I know you'll be successful. But I got stuck with debt, so I have to pay down about $100,000 to suppliers. So, you know, they'll get it in the next 2 months. You know, and so then we'll consider new projects at that point in time. But right now I'm in businessman mode, paying off the old debts.
Oh, okay.
You know, and well, when I say businessman mode, I still give like 5 to 10 interviews a day of that kind. So
And
like on Saturday we're on the front page of the London Free Press. The cafe was on the front page of the Toronto Star on the same day last Thursday. That was a full page article on me in the daily paper this Sunday. I've got another article coming up later on this week in the Vancouver Sun. This magazine's writing an article on me. I mean, it's in Saturday Night Magazine. I got radio shows, you know, blah blah blah. There's tons of them, right? So like the great thing about being in CNN, Rolling Stone, and the Wall Street Journal is, hey, you can't. Those are the A list. That's it. That's the triple A list. When you've been acknowledged by those, then 60 Minutes calls, ABC News. Oh, I got an ABC News special coming out in April, 1 hour special called Victims of Victimless Crime.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and that'll probably get me more trouble because what I do is I go to a grow operation here where the guy's got 1,000 plants in his house. And then they ask me to describe what's going on. Then they say, what would a guy get if he were caught in various parts of the United States? I said, well, starting with Oklahoma, he'd get 50 to 100 years minimum. In Florida, Texas, Arkansas, and I listed off about 7 or 8 others, you'd get 25 years. In I listed about 20 other states, you get 10 years. In every other state in the America, I said, because 1,000 plants is definitely federal. I said, you're going to get mandatory minimum 5 years, absolutely without question, likely 10 to 15. I said, this guy would get $2,000 fine, if that. Since he's an invalid, he'd get less, maybe. You know? And he's disabled, so, you know, they probably would say, who cares, you know? Like, I mean, basically the judges say, who cares anyway, unless you're there for the 10th time. Like, I'm going to be before some judges with quite a rap sheet, so it's worse for me because they're, you know, they piled the charges on to make it look bad. So they, you know, they can start, and the police have to, from their perspective of fighting a war, you know, it's like, you know, the enemy general's right over there, we could kill him, but that would cause more trouble than it's worth, so we have to hassle him, and, you know, a number of things to keep me, to marginalize or disable my effectiveness.
Well, if you have to go into court all the time and show up.
Oh, well, no, it soaks up all my money. I'll never have any spare money to buy full-page ads. I won't be able to start any businesses, and they know that, right? So it's their way of waging war. But, you know, there's a couple of lines I often use. I said, you know, it's good to be underestimated for one. You know, they never knew how good I really was at this until it was too late. That's what I liked about that. You know, they think, well, how much trouble could he be? He's got one hamster. 4 years later, oh fuck, you know, why didn't we just beat him up and throw him in an alley when we had the chance? You know. And so now they're stuck with me, and they got to play ball because I'm actually one of the most well-known people from British Columbia. We've attracted tons of money that nobody really wants to turn away, and I'm really good at what I say. I mean, I'm the kind of person everybody could be proud of. BC's proud of me because I make BC sound good. I make BC sound tolerant. Pot smokers are proud of me because I sound dignified, and I don't look like a typical hippie. I'm an employed person with children, like concerns like every other middle-class person, and you know, the cops like me because you know, I'm polite. Not a problem, you know, type of thing.
Only if they're beating up your employees.
No, even then, you beat up your employees in front of me and all I do is spit on you, you could be thankful, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, if
yeah.
I was in America, maybe I'd have a gun or something. You know, I mean, pot smokers in Canada are surprisingly docile, passive people. They're peace lovers. I mean, they're not prone to fighting, so it's not surprising that we're one-way victims in this drug war. But the fact is, you know, we're winning while being abused and hurt, and so, you know, there's truth. Sooner or later, people realize the injustice of the situation, but they're very slow to act, and they're very cowardly, and people value money and comfort above freedom. And, of course, ironically, they'll lose that, too, if they don't pay attention to freedom. But the thing is, it takes a long time, you know. In 4 years, we've just made dramatic, rapid progress. You know, to me, it's not fast enough, but it's been pretty good. You know, I mean, we have, without government subsidy, it made marijuana out of British Columbia the best in the world. It's the cheapest in North America. It's the highest quality. We've increased production by about 3 or 4 times in the last 4 years, and you know, it's perfect. It's a perfect economy. You know, you start off with bullshit, some seeds, some water, and the natural sun, basically a very small investment, and 3 months later some American's giving you a big wad of money. He goes and takes this marijuana, and he goes home and he burns it, which is incredible. He burns it and he has to come back for more. At least when people buy a car, that car's going to last 5 years anyway. That pot doesn't last 2 weeks. It's gone, it's burned, it's been destroyed, and they've got to come back for more. Now that is a perfect economy. From water, bullshit, in a bit of time, you come up with a multi-billion-dollar industry where everybody's happy. You know, and so the fact that as taxpayers...
All right, once again, this interview has been brought to you by the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp, the sponsors of our initiative drive, the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act. So we can have it here in Oregon, that same turnaround, as Mark said, 2 weeks they burn it up.
Right, we can create that industry here, and we're trying to do that with our petition, the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act. So if you have our petitions, if you're one of the people who's already called us and had us send them to you, send those back in right away. We need all of our petitions in no later than the end of June. And if you need more, if you send them in, we'll mail you back some more right away. If you haven't got them, call us at 235-4606. That's 235-4606. If you're outside of the Portland area, 503-235-4606. Only registered Oregon voters can sign and circulate this petition. But we need 73,000 signatures by the end of June to put this thing on the ballot. And here in early April, what are we at, about 24,000?
Yeah, somewhere around there in early April. And if you have any questions about the initiative, give us a call. We'll be happy to tell you how to make sure to fill it out correctly, make sure, you know, just one county solely on one page, you know, make sure you get that right. Only Lane County, people can sign on Lane County page, can't mix Lane County and Douglas County. And when we mail them out, we kind of mail you out an instruction sheet as well. But if that doesn't make sense, give us a call. You get a live person, usually Bruce. Bruce can walk you through it pretty well. So give us a call and help us out. I mean, we really need, you know, you to help us out to bring freedom back to Oregon, to bring back that whole economy that Mark was talking about, where it's just a wonderful thing that, you know, people can buy it, and then 2 weeks later they have to go buy more because they've smoked it up.
Let's let our farmers do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We need to keep this wealth here. Let's not export it out. So help us put the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act on the ballot to tax and regulate adult marijuana sales, legalize industrial hemp, legalize personal possession and cultivation, and regulate medical marijuana. Call us at 503-235-4606.
Exactly, and give us a call. And it's not just regulate marijuana, medical marijuana, it frees medical marijuana. It's the choice between a doctor and a patient.
In closing, I am a candidate for Oregon State Representative in the Oregon House of Representatives in House District 14. If you live in inner southeast Portland and the little far northeast corner of inner northeast Portland, please vote for me for State Representative on the May Democratic primary. If you're a registered Democrat or you're not registered with the party, you're an independent, you can vote in the Democratic primary. That's D. Paul Stanford for House District 14. Get our petition to stop the drug war.